when I stopped believing my value was sex, I had to ask a harder question. Who even taught me this in the first place? Because, ideas like that, they just don't appear out of nowhere. They are installed. And I knew about my father, but who else? Once I started looking honestly, I saw that it wasn't just my father's comments or the porn on the shelves in Denmark or awkward clinical sex education. It was everywhere. It was the background noise of Western culture. You've heard versions of it your whole life probably, even if no one said it outright. Boys will be boys. Oh, you're so smart for a girl. Ads promising that if your skin is tighter, your body slimmer, your face smoother, you'll finally be enough. Movies where a female character exists only to motivate the man. Series where the women's value drops the moment they're no longer young and compliant. You know what I'm talking about. And we absorb it quietly. The message underneath is simple. A woman's value is conditional on youth, on beauty, on agreeableness, on usefulness, on sexual availability. Now, I grew up in Denmark with porn sold openly next to comics and beer, and with a father who said women were useful for two things, sex and cooking. That was my sharp version of the message. Yours might have been softer. Purity culture, telling you to stay innocent but somehow also irresistible. Father-daughter dances that subtly frame you as someone to be given away, a property. Sitcom jokes about the nagging wife and the clueless husband. Locker room talk dismissed as harmless. Beauty pageants for little girls. Romantic comedies where persistence after rejection is portrayed as love. Endless fitness and anti-aging ads targeting women while men are allowed to age into distinguished. Different packaging, but same hierarchy, and it lands the same way. For years, I performed availability. I endured sex I didn't enjoy because saying no felt like risking being unchosen. I tied my lovability to how well I could please, how useful I could be, and how young I could look. My nervous system stayed on alert in relationships. What's he going? Am I desirable enough? Am I doing enough? Am I too much? Do I look right? Does he like what I do? That low-level fight or flight feels normal when you've lived in it for decades. It only becomes visible when you stop. When I was in my 30s, I asked my father what I was doing wrong, regarding men. And he said, I needed to be more feminine. I needed to talk less and let the men feel strong. At that moment, I understood that these are the rules: shrink, soften, stay small. And I also felt deep inside me that I could not live that way. So I felt like a failure inside a system I never chose and I never agreed to. In midlife though, when my body changed and the useful mask started slipping, the invisibility hit. And with it came a brutal question. If my value was never really about sex or looks or usefulness, then what is it? That question is destabilizing, because if you remove the old currency, you have to discover what you're actually built on, right? This lie keeps women shrinking. We perform youth. We perform low maintenance. Oh no, I don't need anything. You do. We perform emotional labor. We stay in relationships where we are not fully seen, because being alone feels like proof that we're worthless. In midlife, it gets sharp. The culture that once objectified you now erases you. and you realize you outsourced your value to male approval, beauty standards, and being chosen. That grief of that realization, that is real. The nervous system pays for it with exhaustion, resentment, shame, and sometimes numbness. But this lie doesn't only wound women. When women are positioned as less valuable, men are positioned as default takers, the dominant one, the provider, the one who must not show weakness. And that script cuts men off from their full humanity. Emotional suppression becomes strength. Vulnerability becomes weakness. And then we wonder why so many men struggle with intimacy, why loneliness rates are super high, why emotional expression feels dangerous. If you're taught that you're entitled to just take, you are never taught how to truly connect. And if you're taught to perform strength at all times, you lose access to softness. Both genders lose. Real belonging becomes rare. For me, midlife became the place where the lie finally cracked. When I stopped performing sexual availability, when I stopped performing usefulness, when I stopped chasing being chosen, I had to build my value from inside. Presence, curiosity, creativity, depth. The clay in my hands feels more honest than any filtered photo ever did. I choose relationships now based on emotional safety and mutual respect, not on fear of invisibility. That choice has cost me certain dynamics. Some people are uncomfortable when you stop shrinking, but the freedom on the other side is real, I'm telling you. I'm no longer negotiating my worth, and that is the most erotic thing I have ever discovered. The lie that women are less valuable still runs through ads, stories, jokes, and expectations, and it damages women's sense of self. It damages men's capacity for connection, but it can be unlearned. It requires awareness. It requires discomfort. It requires refusing to shrink or dominate. And it requires choosing conscious adulthood over inherited scripts. If this stirred something in you, whether it's anger, recognition, grief, just sit with it and ask yourself, what version of this lie did I absorb? Where did it land in my body? What and where am I still performing? I hope you'll tell me in the comments, respectfully of course. This channel is for real conversations. I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you, and see you soon again.